minute, Jack. This is a friendly celebration.
I don't much like the way you celebrate.
Welcome, everybody, to Four Men in America on July 3rd, 2025. This is Don Woolley talking to you from Florida. We have Paul Fitch in Arizona, Ken Bennett in Arizona, and Zack Taylor in Arizona. And welcome, guys. And who would like to lead off with a statement? Anybody got anything to say right away? I know you guys got your budget signed. So any words on the Arizona budget?
Well, as you asked me what I thought would happen, the House had a budget that got vetoed by the governor. Then the Senate sent over their budget that they had negotiated with the governor, and there was a lot of consternation and Republicans throwing things at each other and calling names. And when it all turned out as I thought would happen, the Senate budget was essentially adopted. I think there were some changes that the House tried to take credit for, and it just irks me greatly that one of our right-leaning news outlets, Arizona Free Independent News Network or whatever, they wrote a glowing story about how the House cut $100 million out of the spending of Arizona, which is not true, because this year's budget is $16.2 billion, and the budget they just spent is $17.6 billion. So there's no way they cut $100 million of spending anywhere. But they want to beat their chest that they did something conservative, and that's okay. I mean, I want to be conservative too, but I also want to tell the truth to people that the budget's really. In fact, there was an article in this news organization that said the budget was $16 billion when it was in fact 17.6. But you never know what the news is telling you, whether it's true or not. But we did get a budget, and Arizona is up and operating instead of shut down.
Yeah, I thought I saw, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, that she signed the budget on the 27th.
Yeah, I think she signed it the very next day or that evening or something.
Yeah. We got our budget in Florida, and DeSantis signed it at a news conference on Monday. So he did it a few hours before midnight on the 30th. So we were closer than you guys.
Oh, wow.
And we got a majority in both houses. We got a super majority in both sides of the legislature. So it's really strange. But he line item vetoed $600 million out of their budget.
Oh, really?
Before he signed it. So, because he didn't like a lot of the stuff the House wanted to do. Thought they were wasting money. So anyway, that was before he went down and took his little trip down to Alligator Alcatraz to greet President Trump. So we hope you guys got to see all all that stuff. It was pretty funny. A lot of questions from the media about that, and now they're calling it a concentration camp. It's really hard to believe some of the stuff they come up with, but it's operating. Yeah. I told Zack they're putting people in it today, and they got their first group in, and they're bringing them in, and they'll try to process them in 24 hours. And we have an airstrip there you can land on, so they'll fly them right out the next day. So they're not going to be there very long. So anyway,
I can tell you this: if I was going to Alligator Alcatraz or Sheriff Joe's tent city, I'd be in Alligator Alcatraz in a heartbeat. It's air conditioned. It's got beds. You don't have to wear pink underwear.
Yeah.
No, I think these guys don't appreciate how good that is.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they thought they were going to be down there in the hot, uncovered open air, whatever. But yeah, it is air conditioned, 3,000 beds, so they're going to have quite a crowd. So, anything else new, guys? Anything new going on or on the horizon?
The big beautiful bill, whatever it ended up with, evidently it was going to be signed by the president tomorrow, and we don't know what. It's kind of like Pelosi's, Obamacare. You have to read it to find out what's left in it.
You have to pass it in order to find out what's in it.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, I don't know whether we won or not.
Yeah, I think we did. It's been online. It's been online for several days, so people can go look at it. But the only bad thing I heard about it to date is the Senate mucked some stuff up in it, and that was some hesitation in the House. And then, like Ken said, you had some Republicans in the Freedom Caucus that one guy in the Freedom Caucus, this Fitzpatrick guy from Pennsylvania, and he didn't vote for it today. He wanted more money. He wanted money in it, $30 million in it for Ukraine. So I don't know where he was coming from, because they never intended to put any foreign aid into this bill at all. So, but I think it's a win, and like you said, President Trump's going to sign it tomorrow at the 4th of July ceremony. They're going to have the B-2 pilots there in the White House, so that'll be kind of nice, and we're going to have a big flyover with Air Force, probably Navy too. So I think it'll be good. It'll be a big day tomorrow, and looking forward to that. And anything else going on? I wanted to ask you about the local news down there in Sarita, and I don't know if Zack heard about it. Zack may have heard. Maybe Ken hasn't heard about your finding the bombs, the IEDs in Sarita that they found, 3 of them in the parks. Any more about that?
I haven't heard anything more. It's I haven't heard if the EOD people have verified that they were real or not. That would be an interesting thing to find out. I saw pictures of them in the Green Valley News, and yeah, they look like pipe bombs. They're a pipe, and they got some duct tape around them, but I don't know what's inside of them, or whether this is just somebody playing, or if it's a real serious problem.
Yeah. Did you guys, Ken or Zack, did you hear about that?
Yeah, I saw the pictures.
Okay.
Looked like a 7th grade science project.
I think it was a false flag.
Well, it looked like they were placed in strategic locations. They would definitely be found.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether there was explosive material in them or not. I think it was to draw attention. School's out. Kids don't have much to do. And idle hands,
Yeah,
kids.
I hear you. And I also heard they convicted your who was it down in Santa Cruz County? The treasurer, was it?
They sentenced her.
They sentenced her. Yeah,
6 months ago.
Yeah.
They sentenced her to 10 years and 5 to run consecutives, and eligible for probation or release after 8.5 on good behavior.
How many years did, or how much money did she take?
38 million.
Well,
38 million.
That's what. Well, I think it's more than that, but that's what they're saying they can prove.
Yeah. Do we really believe that the county commissioners didn't know that 38 million was missing? I say we, I mean.
Come on, Zach, take a chance.
It's a Democrat county,
Yeah.
a Democrat city, and it has been since the OK Corral.
Sure. Yeah.
What do you expect?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. It'd be hard to believe that the commissioners didn't know $38 million was missing out of their budget. Santa
Well, it
Cruz.
was 3 years ago. The assessor was convicted, and he still hasn't been sentenced.
Oh, goodness.
So I'm just wondering if they're going to go kind of through the organization and take them out one at a time, or what. But yeah, there's.
Well, we had a sheriff arrested in Florida for running a gambling ring.
Heard that, yeah.
Down in what do they call it? I can't think of the name of the town. Down south of Orlando is where he was the sheriff in
Ocoee?
Ocoee, yeah, and he was in jail for quite a while. They bailed him out just the other day, but the $1 million bail. So he knew about it, and he just basically covered it up. He let him operate without doing anything about it. So that's his crime. He wasn't participating in it or anything, but he was covering up for him, keeping him under the radar so nobody would bother him. That kind of thing. Getting paid off for it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think Santa Cruz, with all due respect, I think Santa Cruz County is about the corruptest county in Arizona. Not because Zack's down there, but
Zack tried to keep it straight.
Yeah, if Zack had his way the last 20 years, I think it'd be a much different place. But they are as corrupt as they come. I'm on a board with a group out of Tucson that is trying to make sure that our elections are honest and have integrity. And there you go. We filed a public records request with Santa Cruz County, just asking them to release some public records. And typically, if if a public government body doesn't want to do that, all they got to do is say, no, we're not going to release the records and give the reason. They not only didn't release the public records, they sued Audit USA for even asking for the public record. Wow.
Well, is it Freedom of Information Act would completely cover you on that, right?
Now, it was a Freedom of Information Act request. It was a FOIA request.
So how could you possibly sue anybody?
But it's been going on in the courts down there for 2 years.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, we're
about to file another lawsuit called a SLAP, where can't remember what SLAPP stands for, but it is when a government so egregiously violates state law or the Constitution that a court can punish them for just the way they acted. But no, Santa Cruz County is quite the place. Zack, I don't know how you've done it for however long you've been there.
He's watched it all happen, right?
I lost Ken.
You lost Ken? Oh, he's there. Got everybody else?
Not getting any audio of him.
No, okay.
Not getting audio of me? Okay.
I hear you okay. You hear him, Paul?
Okay.
Yeah, you're, Zack, you missed a good story about your county down there.
He just said Santa Cruz County is corrupt, Zack. And I'm sure you won't disagree with that.
Other than Zack Taylor and a handful of Republicans down there.
Both of us.
Both of you.
Both of us. So I want to make a statement to you guys, and I sent you a little email about this, and I thought long and hard about this, and And it has to do with, I thought it was really interesting when I thought about this, and it may not strike you guys the same way, I don't know, but I'd like you to comment on it, was, we of any country would know what it means to use an atomic bomb, right? And
Right.
what that responsibility is, and what that means when you have atomic weapons. And it's so interesting to me when I started thinking about it, that we are the ones that decided to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. And who better than us, who have that knowledge and that weaponry, to do that? And I thought about that, and I thought, well, how ironic that it's come around to the United States, who at one time used the atomic bomb to end a war, that we went in and destroyed a nuclear facility, believing that they are creating nuclear weapons to eliminate that possibility and free up that whole area from nuclear weapons. So anyway, what do you guys think about it? You think I'm onto something? Am I crazy? Am I just babbling on?
You're kind of battling on, but it's probably important. No, who better than a doctor would know what's good medicine?
Yeah, sure.
So the fact that I can't say invented, because I think there were others inventing atomic bombs at the same time we were trying to do it too. The Germans were doing theirs with heavy water, and we've all seen that movie.
Oh yeah.
I think that it's appropriate that as but and the other side of it too, Don, is we've kind of taken on that hat of policemen of the world, and people look to us to protect them. Look at NATO. What do we do 80% of the budget for NATO? And,
yeah. I actually think we pay more than that, but
yeah. So anyway, we're kind of
Now I've lost Paul.
How's that?
Zack lost Paul, he said. Got him now?
You'd need better phone service down there. Somebody's stealing your phone service there, Zack.
It's been corrupted.
Yeah.
They even got to the phones, huh? Well, the video's good. We see you fine.
Yeah.
So
anyway, in your thought process, Don, I think that I think that President Trump just had to make a decision on either letting them go and letting somebody pay the price for it. If they were building an atomic weapon, then somebody was going to pay the price for it, and he didn't want it to be us.
And Zack made a good point. Zack made a great point last week when he said that whether they were really doing it or not, it doesn't matter now, because whatever they were doing is stopped, and it works. It both ways. It works into Trump's favor, and America's, and the Middle East. So
and the world,
and the world, yeah. So anyway, that's my genius thought for the week. Huh? What do you think, Ken? You think I'm onto something, or am I crazy?
No, I think it's appropriate for people, countries, organizations, anybody who has had firsthand experience with something is probably the most able to make a decision as to that something, as to whether it's right to be done. I mean, if I wanted somebody to make a definitive statement about the military, I'd turn to somebody in the military, one of you three gentlemen. If I wanted to know something, definitive about border security, I'd talk to Zack Taylor. If I wanted to know about how to train, what does Jeff Fooch? He trains
Navy SEALs. Yeah,
the Navy SEAls. Then I'd talk to the Navy SEAls.
Yeah.
So I think the U.S. sits in a unique position as the only country to have used an atomic weapon in battle, and I'm sure it was not an easy decision. I think it was the right decision. As I told you a couple of weeks ago of my story about when I lived in Japan, I lived right in Hiroshima, and I actually met and used to go visit people at the hospital who were still suffering from
you did
the radiation poisoning and stuff. So but I met many a Japanese person who 25 years later were willing to admit that the bomb probably saved millions of lives, else the U.S. would have had to have invaded the islands and killed many, many more hundreds of thousands or millions of people than happened with the bomb. So whenever you've had firsthand experience, I mean, I've never had to shoot somebody. If one of you three have had to do that, if you've ever shot somebody, you probably have the ability or a perspective to say when it's right and when it's not right to shoot somebody. But I've never had to do that, so I'm the last one to ask.
Yeah. So I heard also that now that the big beautiful bill is passed, and I watched a little ceremony at I guess it was in the House of Representatives. They went to another room and they had a little signing ceremony because I guess Johnson has to sign it. He signs the bill, and I don't know if his other people have to sign it. Maybe they all sign it. I don't know. But then it went on. Now it's going to go on to the White House tomorrow. And so what's your guys' kind of overall thoughts about how John Thune in the Senate and Mike Johnson in the House, how they kind of herded the cats to get this done, because it's a big deal, and it's a big on Trump agenda, and going forward it wouldn't have been good if it would have failed. It would have made the Republicans look bad, and I really think it would have hurt them in the midterms if they hadn't have got this done, even though they're quite a ways out. But I think they had to prove that they can do something like this, that they can unify and get something done. So what's your guys' kind of opinion of the leader and the Speaker of the House? Did they do a good job?
I think they did as credible a job as they could, considering that the opposition within their own party. That's where the rub is for me. Murkowski and Collins and who was the other one that offended me so badly? Rand Paul. It's important to stick to your principles. I appreciate that, but I think sometimes you just got to take one for the team. You got to be a team player, and all their whining and I don't know, disruption, I guess is as good a word as any, didn't help anything as far as I'm concerned, except grandstanding. And Murkowski and Collins, I don't even know why they caucus with the Republicans. I swear to God.
But time out. Murkowski voted for it.
I understand she did.
It was Tillis, North Carolina, I think, that was the third Republican to
Tillis and Collins
not vote for it.
And Rand Paul. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, Ken. That was not my point. She was also against it. She sat in the Senate and said, "I voted for it, but I don't agree with it, and I hope the House will fix it." So she wasn't playing with the team. She was kind of sitting on the sideline, not cheering as loud as she could be for the other side.
I kind of look at this like it's very difficult to. I know some of them, they think about their district and they've got to make their district happy. And right now, the way I look at this right now, we're in a little different era, different time right now. The United States is in a crisis mode coming out of the Biden era. I mean, they did so many bad things and screwed things up so bad that it's time to rally together for the country, right? Now, if you're not going to get elected in 2 years, that can't matter to you, because what you have to do what's good for the country right now. And so that's kind of the way I look at it. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's my feeling about it.
I think you're right.
I thought it was very interesting that there was a group of former congressmen, I think they were all males, all congressmen, including Matt Salmon from Arizona, and some of the people that originally started the Freedom Caucus in the U.S. House of Representatives. issued a statement a couple days ago against the big beautiful bill. And I just know that, as a Senate president myself for 4 years, it is very difficult. I mean, when I look at Mike Johnson and Thune, John Thune in the Senate, did they do a good job? Yeah, they did a good job. They did what they had to do to get the votes in each of their bodies. I have been a Senate president in Arizona. I had to do so with a Democrat governor.
Right.
Now, this was Republican John Thune in the Senate, Republican Mike Johnson in the House, and Republican President Donald Trump.
Right. And they still
look
would.
Look at the disagreements
Yeah.
and the conflict and the
Yeah.
name calling and the no votes and the whatever, when all three bodies were controlled by Republicans.
Yeah.
Double or triple that when you have a situation like I had where there was a Democrat governor. And so you've got to compromise. And I thought it interesting that this group that I mentioned of former congressmen pointed out that there was larger increase in federal spending in this bill than all of the DOGE cuts combined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it didn't, it may have done a lot of good things, made the tax cuts permanent. It did a lot of good things. Was there more good stuff in it than bad? Probably, which is why it ultimately passed. But was it perfect? No.
No. Right.
Did it address the biggest threat, I think, to America right now, and that is our national debt? No.
No, agreed. Yeah.
It did not cut spending, did not address the deficit in an annual basis. We're still spending about $2 trillion a year more
Mm-hmm.
than we bring in. There's big arguments as to whether the Office of Management and Budget's predictions are correct, that this will add even more to the national debt. Trump saying it's not as much, but I trust that it had more good things in it than it had bad things, or the almost unanimous majority of Republicans, minus 3 in the House or 3 in the Senate and 3 or 4 in the House, would not have voted for it. So overall, but you never get a perfect bill.
Right. That's a great point.
If you're waiting for perfection, you will never get anything done.
Yeah.
So at some point, you got to say, this is what I have. Is there more good in there than there is bad? And you got to make a decision.
So Ken,
now, I don't hold it against Tillis for voting against it. Like Trump says, I'm going to primary him in. We're going to find somebody to run against him. That's probably why Tillis announced he's not running next year anyway.
Oh yeah, sure.
So I disagree with Trump's characterization that if you didn't agree in every point with him, that there's something wrong with you. That's where I deviate a little bit from the way from my support for Donald Trump. I think we can have differences within Republicans, even between Republicans and Democrats, without vilifying or demonizing people who have those differences.
So Ken, let me does the Arizona Senate have a parliamentarian or something similar?
Yes. There's one of the senators is called the parliamentarian, but it's really the president of the Senate who presides over the Senate, has to make parliamentary decisions.
Okay.
Sometimes every day.
Yeah.
The real parliamentarian of the Arizona Senate is the rules attorney.
Yeah.
Who is hired and works for the Senate. And whenever there's a parliamentary question, inevitably the rules attorney, who's watching what's happening on the floor all the time, will show up on the Senate floor within a couple of minutes, sometimes a couple seconds, because his office is right across the floor from the Senate on the second floor. And he will give his legal advice to the person in the chair. Sometimes a parliamentary question can come up in what's called committee of the whole, and any one of the senators can be chairing the committee of the whole. But when the
Committee of the whole is the House and the Senate together, right?
the
No,
committee
no.
of the whole is all 30 senators
Okay.
sitting in one committee, and then after something passes the committee of the whole, then it goes to a final or third read on that specific bill.
Okay.
When you get to that point, it's either the president of the Senate or the president pro tem that is sitting in the president's seat, conducting the affairs on the floor of the Senate. So whoever is in the president's seat of the Senate is the ultimate parliamentarian, but there's a rules attorney that comes in and gives his or her legal advice as to whatever the parliamentary question is. Apparently, there were some parliamentary questions in the U.S. Senate, and it was ruled by the Senate parliamentarian that they couldn't include some of the things that they wanted to do in a reconciliation bill. And that ended up being some of the things that the House got mad about.
Mhm.
And they got mad at Thune and Johnson
Yeah.
for telling them that it would go this way. And it ended up being a little bit different because of some parliamentary rulings in the Senate.
So if you were, I don't know, if you were in that position, I'll ask each one of you guys, if you were in that position, you're the leader of the Senate, and you just get voted on by your peers to be the leader of the Senate, and you have this parliamentarian who's a known Democrat that's been there for years. Matter of fact, she presided over the Senate while they were trying to impeach Trump. Would you put somebody new in there, or would you live with the person you got? Because she is fired and hired by the leader of the Senate. So what do you think?
She should have been replaced by a Republican appointed by Thune,
Right.
who was elected leader of the Senate.
Yeah. Right away.
But the ultimate decision on a parliamentary question goes to the full body, and 51 votes decides whether something was parliamentary or not.
Yeah.
In the Senate, the president can make a statement. I'm going to rule that this it complies with a parliamentary procedure or rules of the Senate. But all it takes is any one of the 30 senators to say objection and to object to that ruling. And the only way you can vote over that ruling is by getting a majority of the body. So in the Arizona Senate, 16 votes out of the 30 senators, half plus one, makes the ultimate decision whether the president, whether the parliamentarian, whether the chairman of the committee of a whole vote, no matter who made a decision on the floor of the Arizona Senate, if that is questioned enough times, it eventually comes down to a vote of the 30 senators, and 16 out of the 30 or more make the decision whether something was parliamentary or not.
Is that attorney, Ken, in the Arizona Senate, the attorney you're talking about, is he hired by the state? He works for the state?
He works for the Senate. He's employed by the Senate.
Okay. All right. He's included in your budget and et cetera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good.
There's a rules office. There's a rules office in the Senate. There's two supposed to be independent attorneys. Now, the Republican caucus has a couple of attorneys. The Democrat caucus has a couple of attorneys. And they are usually trying to help the Republicans accomplish what they want and the Democrats accomplish what they want. But the rules attorney, you try to get somebody who's going to be straight aboard on the complying with the rules of the Senate.
Yeah.
Not what either party wants.
Okay. Good. Thank you, sir. We like the civics lessons. They're great. Terrific. So, especially there's something that you're experienced in, Ken, that only you could. If we want to know to go to an authority, why not better than go to the leader of the Senate in Arizona to tell us about these things? So,
well, you were talking about line item vetoes. I guess you said that DeSantis did some line item vetoes.
Yeah.
There's a lawsuit from 22 years ago in Arizona called Bennett versus Napolitano.
Yeah.
And it was based on some line item vetoes that she did that I thought were inappropriate. So I filed a lawsuit against Napolitano, went all the way to the Arizona Supreme Court, but it was about line item vetoes.
Oh, okay. So how did that come out?
The Arizona Supreme Court chickened out and would not take the case.
Oh, really? You didn't have standing, right?
I had standing.
Yeah.
They declared that it was a political disagreement, not a legal one, and so they weren't going to rule for one side over the other. But
okay. Good. Yeah, interesting. So what do you think, Paul? Zach, any comments?
Well, as loosely as I followed politics until I retired, I appreciate what Ken's saying, and I appreciate the pressure that was on Thune and Johnson by the president, because they appreciate the president. They wanted to do what they could for him. I appreciate that. And he's right. Compromise. It's all compromise. If you can't get a vote, you don't get your program. And so you got to play that very delicately. Promise a little here, take a little bit there, and mold the voting population to get enough numbers to make whatever you want to happen. And I can appreciate that puts people in an awkward position. But it's also, what is it? Politics is the art of the impossible. Is that did I quote that right? So that's how you become a good.
The art of the possible. Art of the possible.
Oh, okay. Art of the possible.
Not what's perfect, what's possible.
Okay, but there was an old story that Joe Biden told about when he was a freshman senator. He voted against the party on some bill, whatever it was, and when he walked back, I think Byrd was the majority leader in the Senate at that time, and he had a list of all the Democrat senators on his door, and there was a big red circle around Joe Biden's name, and he said he never voted against the party after that. So, but that's the pressure that can come on. And this is something that's always bothered me about the political system, the way it works in our country. It's better maybe than others, but if you come up as a freshman senator or a freshman congressman, the first thing they do is teach you to play with the team. But other than that, you're put into the awkward position of, if you don't play with the team, you don't get positions in the Senate. You don't get, or in the House or whatever it is, but you don't get chairmanships, you don't get vice chairmanships, you don't get power positions unless you play with the team. So it's really hard for them to be independent when their whole future in the political body is dependent on playing the game and being on the team.
And that's where a lot of people think that term limits would help that situation. I mean, some people believe that.
A lame duck doesn't have anything to lose.
Yeah,
they can vote their conscience.
And you're not always running for re-election trying to raise money, especially back in Washington D.C., where you rely on all the corporations and everything else to pay your bills, right?
Right.
And get your way into there's kind of I heard Matt Gaetz told the story when we saw him in person. He said that you actually, when you go through freshman orientation in Washington D.C., there's kind of a price to pay depending on which committee you want to be on. And some of the committees have a higher price than other committees. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting story. So the first thing they do is they let you go to a big party with all of the, all of the corporate money, all the big money guys, all the lobbyists are there. Yeah, all the lobbyists are there. And then you kind of get on board there with that, and then you go try to get on the committees you want to get on, et cetera. So it can get nasty sometimes, and people don't like to talk about that part of the thing. But anyway, yeah, it was a good fight. There were a lot of disagreements, but we got there. I say we because I think we're all rooting for the country, and like Ken said, there's a balance to play, but overall, I think it was good for the country what we did, and hopefully the economy will start growing and things will start happening, and we will be able to reduce our deficit and our debt, and these tariffs are going to help do that too. So I also heard that Trump made a deal with Vietnam, a trade deal, and which is good. And also, Ken, I heard something about Japan. Now, I heard somebody said the other day on Fox Business that we're not allowed to ship any rice to Japan.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's my understanding as well.
So that's one of the big disagreements right now, that they want to be able to send rice to Japan, and Japan won't let them do that. And that's why they don't have a deal yet. So I guess Trump's going to send them a letter and just tell them you're going to pay this amount of tariff.
So do I understand correctly? We have a trade deal with Vietnam, but not with Canada or Japan. Huh?
Right. Yeah. Go figure, huh? Yeah. Well, I think Canada's working on it now, because they relented on their tax they were going to charge to to Google and all of them. What do they call it?
Service tax or something?
Service tax. I'm not sure.
Social media.
EU is big on that. They got a lot of that going on. So, even though you don't work in the country, if you're providing a service over there, I guess they can tax you. So it's kind of weird.
Well, I think one of the biggest events that's happened during this second presidency of Trump happened since we last were together. And that was the Supreme Court decision that lower court judges cannot stop federal policy nationwide.
Nationwide, right. Agree.
They can't issue injunctions that have the effect of stopping something nationwide. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest things to assist the president in getting his policies through. And I thought it was very interesting that I think the court voted 6-3,
right,
along kind of the conservative liberal lines.
Correct. And
then it came out that one of the three, of course, who voted against that decision was Elena Kagan.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a video, a recording of her about 3 or 4 years ago, when she said exactly what she voted against. She said it did not make sense that a lower court, a district court federal judge could stop President, I think it was Biden at the time, or maybe it was 8 years before. And
it was
Obama.
Biden. Yeah, you're right. It was Biden.
Yeah, she said it doesn't make sense that a district court judge can stop a presidential decision for the whole country. And yet, that's exactly the argument that she voted against when she was one of the three that wanted to let these district court judges continue to do exactly that. So the hypocrisy is so sick. But I think that's going to be one of the most important things that's happened now in this first 6 months of his presidency. That the district court, I almost said pregnancy, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
He's not yet, right?
Actually.
No, I don't think we have to worry about that with Trump. So
the 4 year
anyway.
gestation period.
You may be thinking, Ken, of what the Democrats have been doing to him.
there you go. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that.
No,
And
that's
the other
good.
thing
Go ahead, Ken.
Well, the other thing I wanted to mention, I don't know what our time is, but tomorrow starts the 250th year of America.
The United States of America, yeah.
We will celebrate it at the end of that year, next July 4th, 2026. But the 250th year of America starts tomorrow.
Yeah, isn't that great? Yeah. And like Mike Johnson said in his speech after they passed the bill today, he says 250 years is just a blip on the radar, right? of all time. But yeah, it's country-wise, it's quite an achievement. Right. We made it work for 250 years, even through all the
Tomorrow
squabbling.
tomorrow's 249 years,
Yeah,
and therefore starts the 250th year.
Yeah, like Zack, Zack first came on, he said he's looking forward to tomorrow and the celebration, and there's going to be a lot going on tomorrow, and it's going to be nice. So yeah, a lot to watch. And you guys going to any fireworks shows in your areas? Or are they going to have any fireworks shows?
Prescott will.
Good.
Sarita has a what they call a hybrid show. They're going to be half fireworks and half drones, which I'm kind of interested in seeing.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's cool.
Those drone shows are something else. I don't know. Who
They have
drives
them,
them, but-
yeah. They have them down in Orlando all the time. They had one down there in Orlando a few months ago, and a bunch of the drones they lost control of, and they crashed into the crowd.
Oh my!
And I'm not talking about just a few, right? And some little boy got hit by one. So yeah, make sure you wear your hard hat tomorrow. They're not too good at flying them drones sometimes. So.
Mary Margaret and I were on our boat down in Marathon on 4th of July one time. And so we took our little rubber dinghy and went over to a convenient spot to watch the fireworks. Well, every time they'd shoot one of these big sky things up, these hot cinders would come down. And I'm sitting in this rubber boat thinking, oh, Lord.
Yeah, the hot cinders and rubber doesn't work, Paul.
Not often.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's they're going to have a few shows around here. Some of the cities have their own little fireworks show. They got a big fireworks show down in, a lot of people go down to Disneyland or Disney World because they have big shows down there. And I put this show on for you guys tonight. See?
We appreciate it.
Yeah, so I told you I'd get to give you some fireworks tonight. So
Yeah.
so
Well, they
so Zack,
had a big fireworks explosion.
yeah. I want to ask Zack, before we leave, I want to ask Zack a little bit about, we're going to create detention centers in Florida, Zack, 5,000 beds. Is that going to help the situation of getting these people out of the country? Is that a big help, small help? Do more people need to do it? Or how many beds does ICE have total nationwide? Do you know?
No.
No?
And this alligator Alcatraz, I think, is more optics than anything else.
Yeah.
That it's about 4 inches above groundwater level.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah.
It's right in the heart of the flooding whenever a hurricane hits,
Yeah.
because the Everglades is actually a river of fresh water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it starts up above Lake Okeechobee and the upper St. Johns River at Helen Blazes and flows south into the 10,000 Islands in Monroe County. So whenever above the Everglades gets flooded, it eventually ends up in the Everglades. So something that's 4 inches above groundwater level, if they have a hurricane anywhere from Lake Okeechobee south, which gets hit occasionally, alligators can already swim.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're good swimmers. Yeah. Yeah. They're good
I
swimmers.
think,
Well, they say they have a contingency plan for any hurricanes or whatever. So, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I think that I have noticed that Christy Nome in particular has mentioned that this should encourage people to self-deport.
Yeah. That's probably the bigger picture, right?
And a lot of what's going on right now is optics, including with this big bill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
If you remember, the very first words out of Trump's mouth right after the inauguration was the big, beautiful bill.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Okay. There's so much going on right now, right in front of your face, on TV and in the press, that should be giving you a clue that you're being played. And the thing is the Biden that we saw, what was it, in 2021, is not the same Biden we're seeing today.
That's what some people say. Yeah.
Different people.
Yeah.
Then you watch him walk across the grass going to Marine One, and his left foot is sinking down below the ankle in the grass, and his right foot's on top of the grass. That's a computer-generated image. Okay. The other day, I was watching Donald Trump on TV. He's the same height as J.D. Vance. Donald Trump is 6'3". J.D. Vance is 5'10".
Yeah.
This looks like to me there's Donald Trump 1, Donald Trump 2, and Donald Trump 3. That's what I'm seeing. But when you put Donald Trump up against Melania and she's taller, that's not the real Donald Trump.
Yeah, she's definitely not taller than him. She might be close to him in heels, but she's not taller than him. She's 5'11", I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's 4 inches and 2 inches of heels still doesn't get her there.
No.
The problem is to me, it's obvious. Other people don't even notice it.
Why would you think they would want another Donald Trump running around? What would be the purpose of that?
Well, it's 3 moving targets.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah.
Number 2, he can't be 2 places at once. And the amount of time that he's out and about and working, he never gets to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard he sleeps 4 hours a night, so I guess some people could do that.
That's not enough for me.
Yeah.
That's not enough for me.
Not for me
Nope.
either, Ken. That would kill me. 4 hours. I'd be worthless about 2 days.
I got to get that rapid eye movement sleep in the morning. I just got to have it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I think really even I don't think we're getting the truth in the media. I think we're being played by the media. And they're conditioning us to accept some things that just aren't true.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. There are many things that they're, and there are certain media outlets that are worse than others too. So, they tried their damnedest the other day to get Trump to commit to a war in Iran, and when he turned around and after the bombing says, now we're done. That's it. That's all we're going to do. Man, guys like Lindsey Graham and the rest of them, they were very disappointed. The neocons really wanted us to go to war with Iran, and Fox was pushing it too. They were one of the worst at pushing it. They were all over everything going on.
There's a lot of
cheerleading.
Yeah, there's disinformation on both ends of the political spectrum.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And everywhere in between.
Yeah, right.
And I think that a lot of that's being paid for.
Yeah,
Money.
no doubt. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think some of it is allowed to happen to distract us away from what is really happening. And I think that's what the bombing of those nuclear facilities was all about, was to take the distraction of Iran getting a nuclear weapon out of the narrative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's no longer, okay, but it was a chess move. Now, what is the next move? I think it could be regime change, but I don't think it's regime change in Iran.
Think about Israel.
I think it's going to be Israel.
Well, they're trying hard in the courts over there to prosecute Netanyahu, and just last week Trump told them to lay off and leave him alone while we're getting this Hamas thing settled out. So, but you could be right. There are a lot of people over there that don't like him. So
there's a couple of things that are going on in Israel. Number one, he won't let anybody leave.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, the World Court, I believe, is what's going to handle Netanyahu.
But
the civil court.
Do they really have any authority though? Is anybody going to listen to them? The World
Yes.
Court?
Yes.
I didn't think we even signed up to the World Court.
Well, I think we're going to find out a lot of things tomorrow.
Well, we'll see, I guess. Yeah. Interesting.
But,
Interesting.
Yeah, but the whole thing with Ukraine is about the deep state control of that country.
Absolutely. Agree with that.
Okay. That has to be broken.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was used as a money laundering facility to pay off U.S. politicians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what they're really scared of, is when that starts getting investigated.
Yeah.
Now, if the 2020 election is overturned, that's going to really spark some excitement.
Yeah, that will.
Your turn.
Well, that means every single congressman that voted to certify the election after there were 51 complaints of irregularities is out.
Yeah.
They'll be removed from office. That's what the law says. So if they
Which election are you talking about, Zach? The 2024 election?
2020. 2020 when we elected Biden.
I'm not saying 2022 and 2024 were up on the up and up, but 2020 was really bad.
Yeah.
30 million bad.
Well,
Maybe you have more people voting than you got registered voters. You got a problem.
yeah, that would be a problem. So we're running up against the clock here, fellas. I want to. I've got 7:27, which is 5:27 your time. So, I'm sorry, 4:27 your time. 3 hours, right? So anyway, thanks for all the comments. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, Zach, for all your provocative stuff. We appreciate that, and it gives people things to think about. Critical thinking.
Happy 4th of July.
Happy
to all
4th
of you.
of July. Yeah, you too, Ken. Happy 4th of July to you guys. And we hope Jeff has a nice trip. Jeff Hooch going to San Diego and back and safe and sound. And anybody going to be out next week, or everybody going to be available? What do you think? Be here. That'll be July 10th, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So all right, we'll see you all on July 10th. Thank you again. Thanks, America, for joining us. This is 4 Men in America. Subscribe and like, and hit the little button, the little bell to get notified of when these are put up on YouTube and Rumble. And we will see you all next week.
Outstanding.
Good night.
Good night.
If you want to change the world, start off by making your bed. If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride, and it will encourage you to do another task, and another, and another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right. And if by chance you have a miserable day, you will come home to a bed that is made, that you made. And a made bed gives you encouragement that tomorrow will be better.